Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 362nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 7th, 2021. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department, and it's part of the Public Teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond. I'll be a host today. And as usual in this series of Knowledge Seekers Workshops, we have Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation ready to go to present today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning, Rick. Good morning. Good day to you as usual. Whenever and wherever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers of Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. As we are on our 362nd teaching cycle of weeks, and as we are on the first teaching of 2021, we welcome you the new year, and we wish you one of the best forever for mankind. We start this year with a lot of hope, with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of anxiety, and a society today is totally different than when we started last year, this time, the first teaching of the 2020. We are facing massive, what we call psychological pressures and controls, and uncertain future ahead of many of us. With what is known as Corona and what is turned up to be in the past 12 months, changing a lifestyle for millions of people. We have seen the introduction of new vaccines, we have seen reports, we have seen how some of them are helping and some of them are creating more havoc than before. In the process of these trials, as we see has started, many of the frontline doctors and nurses have become victims of the vaccination. And we've seen many doctors already have died, and many what we call frontline helpers. How this will change humanity, we do not know. But one thing is for sure, this virus will unite mankind in so many ways to understand more, and in so many ways to bring a new dimension for those who understand the process of the creation. In so many ways, we take an injection. It's literally what I said to one of the knowledge seekers. This is a Russian roulette. You don't know what will come on the other end of the bullet. And would we show reaction? Would we show no reaction? But there is one thing for sure. Most of the people who have shown any kind of reaction, they already have shown signs of being allergic to one thing or another. Majority of the cases are those who show high allergies or hidden allergies, especially as we've seen one of the doctors in Miami who lost his life within 3 days, has been that Those who are allergic show high sensitivity to anything before are the most vulnerable. So what we advise is most of you who are online with your governments to try to find a solution with your doctors and your government. If you're allergic and you can prove it, not to take the injection. At least till more data is available for all of us to understand the position of our body in respect to the injection. On the other hand, as part of the Keshe Foundation, in the coming days, 2 new systems, actually 3 new systems, will be introduced into the hand of the doctors to test and try. And we hopefully by the time we complete these reports, for the first time we'll submit full reports to health authorities with the full backing of the data of the doctors and the number of the patients. This will go on the back of the data we created in the Corona Report of Iran 2020. With this new technology, we have developed a new cycle, a new process that will allow to see how fast doctors can reverse or revert or confirm the reversal of the corona. This is a new technology, and for the first time, Keshe Foundation directly will submit application form to health authorities for submission of a new system for corona. In a way, we are not submitting an injection, we are submitting environmental changes which can, to see with the approval of the doctors, brings the condition of the reversal or at least control of it. This system is unique, never been shown in public, never been disclosed, but it will create what we call a stepping stone towards not only for the viruses, but for a space development, conversion of the viruses in the space. This is important for development, as this system will be part of the new enhancement units, what we call controlling system. Many of the features of it will be disclosed once the approval and the test results from doctors have received. We shouldn't have much problem in testing maybe 200 or 300 people in a couple of weeks, as there are many cases and the doctors can rapidly test and confirm or ask for evaluation of the data by authorities. This is not only can be used for the human body, but it can be used for environmental changes, where we will see the change will come by changing the environment within the room, that number of people can be at the same time supported. This is possible. This is the next step in the development. And we hope for the first time not showing an injection, but showing a system, a technology which can help with all viruses. In the future, it could be a flu, it could be any kind of what they call ADHD, or it could be any kind of Parkinson. You will have to see if we see to these as the same as the viruses as is developed for the enhancement unit. My wish is that this process of what we call Corona will and create a new school of thoughts, a new school of understanding the creation. For so many of you has been a system. What can we do? In the teaching in the past few weeks, we have elaborated on understanding the totality of the knowledge about the soul of the man. Today, I want to teach you something new. Something that some of you can make it tangible. Some of you already achieved this, but never followed it up, or you couldn't follow it because you couldn't understand it. Some 4 or 5 years ago, we brought this out in a process of organs or arms or hands in the test we did in Canada with Ali. And then it got stopped because some things weren't not understood. And now after years, we think most of you will be able to achieve this. This is the reason why we introduce the 5 cups. Last week and the last 2 weeks, we showed you the elevation of the soul of the man, understanding the presence of the soul of the man in respect to use of what we call cups of the soul. But now there is a dimension. In reality, you should be able to extend the soul of the man beyond the boundary of the physicality, in a way sending it through a shock wave of fields of the plasma condition of your own creation, which has created you, to cover the boundary of your physicality, which means in a way you go through a shock wave of fields that any virus, any other things will be seen to, will be balanced off. In a way, you go through a cleansing system through your own structure. How do we do this? In the process of last week's teaching, I showed you how to use the cup of soul. And then, in that process, how to create a soul of control of your own within you that is lower in field strength, that the cups you have created will feed you. In that process, the interaction of their fields with what I call humbleness of your soul will manifest, enlighten your soul. And in the same process, when you come to understand that the soul of the Creator is much more humbler than you, then in line with the strength of the field from your soul, you will see the light of the Creator. It's the same process. As they say, the same in macro and in micro. So in this process, many of you understood. Many of you are trying to find a way to see if your soul can shine. In time, some of you will achieve it. But in that process, we come to the next step of understanding the use of the cups and how you can protect your physical body. In a way, let me explain to you in a very simple way. You are in a position in a physical danger, and you do not want the physicality to be there. That will go through it. An earthquake, a car crash, an attack, air crash. You are in it, and you don't want the physicality to be touched. In a way, you learn how to extend the fields of your soul beyond the soul of physicality and the physical body of the man. You all have the tools with you for past few weeks, past few months. Go back to the 5 cups. What do you need to do? How can you teach your soul or your physical soul to reach beyond the boundary of your physicality, that it covers it? In a way, if you go, this has been taught in the 3 books, and it's been taught in some of the papers released, and it's been taught and it's been signed into the patent. Now for the first time, maybe you can do it. Maybe you have a system that can not only elevate your soul, but extend your soul in a dimension of physicality where the physical energy balance of your soul with its environment makes you invisible. In a way, you become a source, but in a way cannot be seen. In one of the patterns and in one of the papers and the books, I call it as a black envelope. Whatever you put in the envelope, it covers, doesn't matter what's in it. You can put a pound in it, you can put a note in it, you can put a key in it. It's the envelope which covers what's in it. And this envelope is what we're going to teach you today, that many of you can start physically see, physically test, physically understand the work of your soul. We're targeting for 21st of March 2021. And in this process, a man who can cover and understand and be aware of the functionality of his soul will be the man who will take the first steps in the direction of understanding the operation of his own souls towards the Creator and becoming a passengers of the universe. What do? Go back. You have the soul. You have set up the system of the soul and you're in it. Now you have to create a condition that your soul becomes more powerful, than your physicality. That in comparison to physicality, in taking the energy from the soul in a specific way to the soul of physicality, you create a balanced barrier where the physicality becomes inside the atmosphere and within the sphere of the soul of the man. As I go back, I hidden this in a beautiful way in a paper which was published, Interatomic Fusion. Interatomic fusion, as we spoke before, is the secret of creation. Not in how you allow an electron to fuse inside a proton to create energy, but in a way how you extend the fields of the proton that goes beyond the electron. This is what it is. Many of you have been told about a point in front of your forehead that you have given it many names. You call it whatever gland. Use this gland, if you understand it, by its dimension and the strength, to extend the soul to it and then beyond it. In a way, you have to understand the soul of the man at this point, at this conjuncture, will manifest itself as a light, as a balanced light with its environment. Many of you use, and in doctors tell us that this gland is right in front of your forehead. And in so many things connected to it, because it's the electron in the structure of the atomic structure of the body of the man. The soul of the man is the proton. And this electron at that boundary decides the feature of the man. And in that process, if you understand it, you can create using the cups of the soul of physicality in the same process. By placing the cup of physicality in respect to your soul, and cup of physicality in respect to the environment of the gravitational magnetic field of the inertia, you should be able to extend your souls outside. In a way, if you understand it and can create the right condition, you can become invisible in a visible position. Because it's the inertia which you have taken position on. If you go for the soul of the planet, you will take that position in respect to the planet. In a way, children say, you see me now, you don't see me now. In a way, this is the process of extending the soul of the man beyond the soul of physicality, but within the dimension of the soul and the soul material state that makes you to manifest yourself in a visible condition. In time, in practice, you learn how to do this. Many people in the universe use the furthest extremity of their body to create this condition and position. The tip of a finger, the tip of a toe. And then you connect to it. And in the strength as being lower than the strength of your soul, you create an envelope. You will not be seen. If you are getting attacked and you see a bullet, you can instantly do that the bullet goes through you, because you don't exist in a matter state where the bullet has been made for. This is how we make the wars not worth fighting anymore. This is how we, in a way, disappear the need of the man to kill to live. Because if you can reach to this point, you will start understanding how to feed your soul. In a way, the feeding of the soul of the man through the extension of the soul beyond the physical boundary becomes part of your daily routine. It becomes how you cleanse yourself. In a way, in the scriptures and the past, they called you to pray. To pray wasn't there to pray to the Creator, was to pray beyond the boundary that the man find himself in a way to feed himself through the soul of the man. And man got it again the wrong way, the physical way of bending and standing and praying and the rest of it. If you can make the cups of what you call inertia with a cup of the soul of physicality in a specific position and condition of your soul as you structured it before, you will be invisible. In a way, you become invisible and you become a source of energy, but not as a light. When you are at the strength of the soul of the man, you become a light. When you are at the strength of the boundary of the envelope, the physicality of the man, and you can create a balance, you become invisible. And this can be done in a very easy way, because you need to do this. If you travel within the dimension of the space, when you go, for example, if you go in the physical matter from a UFO into the landing position on the planet, you need to know this process. Because you leave the physicality dimension of the controlled environment to unknown, where you have to change. And when you withdraw the soul from the dimension of the physicality, then you see what shape your body will take in respect to the environment and how it will guarantee survival. Because you have created a balanced field environment in respect to the inertia of the environment you entered, plus its magnetic position of this planet. This way, if you're in deeper space and you want to take what we call at the moment the spacewalk, you don't need to create such a thing as a gravitational magnetic field of the planet, but of the environment, fast flowing fields, but still creating magnetic and gravitational fields. This is how we said from the beginning. The 5 cups is a sandbox for many of you to start working on, and anyone or any nation which ignores this, it does it at their peril, because those who can come and go, they'll be through your house without you knowing, they'll be through your life without you knowing, as they have the possibility to do this. If you have taught and you understand it, this cannot be done, because in a way of protection of the fields, no one can intrude with the dimension of your soul. In teaching this process, in teaching how to make man to become invisible and a way to feed his soul that he feeds his physicality, when you retract the soul back to its position, as now it becomes the receiver, and in that position soul manifests itself within the structure of the physicality, then you can regenerate, you can repair, you can feed all the cells of the body which could have had unbalanced fields. In this process, this is part of the teaching of the deep space travel. As I said, for those of you who do not reach the point of the elevation of understanding the work of your soul, we give you the UFOs, we give you Maghraf systems. For those of you who elevate to understand the work of your souls, this is the way you travel the depth of the space. Because I always said, when I teach, I do not teach for the human race only, but my knowledge is for the soul of the universe, that every soul created in a unicos hears and gets elevated. It might not sound something for you as humans, that it can be done, but those travelers of deep space who receive this knowledge the same as time as you do, but they're more advanced, now they know how to transmute and transfer. And those who are on the edge of the knowledge of the creation, know they find a way to find a closer way in line to meeting their creators. The evolution of the technology in teaching is understanding the knowledge from the Creator. And in this process, many of you will find new positions. Many of you will understand, as I said before, in the MAGRAP systems, in the enhancement systems, we don't create the matter. As I was teaching in the Iranian teaching last night, we do not create matter in the enhancement units. We create the soul of the matter, that what it fits into the inertia can convert. We create the soul of the gold. We create the soul of the copper. And in the condition of the inertia of the system, it creates copper if the wish of the man who runs it is to produce copper. This is the same. If your wish is to produce invisibility, balance in energy and fields, this is what you shall receive. The teaching of today has to be understood, especially what those of you who work and start working on the balanced field effects. Understand the work of the field. And it's for those of you who understood, have made the systems, have made the cups, now you test. This is much simpler than trying to see the soul, trying to elevate your soul, because this is a stepping stone in a way of cleansing the physicality from dimension of its needs, that the soul becomes free to be able to elevate itself. We taught you from top to bottom. As much as in a physical condition, we taught you from bottom to top. We gave you the cup of life to start with. Then we gave you the second cup. Then we gave you the soul. Then we gave you the soul of the planet. But now there is a sixth cup which comes into operation, that it needs for the man to have to decide which universe he will travel into. The cup number 6 is the dimension of the physicality of the man who wants to travel within the space of this universe. You need this to be below the cup of the soul of the planet. And in that process, mankind has not achieved that level of knowledge. But for those of you, the travel of the universe, who understood this and have already reached this position to travel the depth of the universe, you need this cup, that you create the fields of the position in the universe, that you will arrive at that point. This is the way when the physicality of the man leaves behind on earth, and the soul of the man leaves to find a new position in the universe. The balance of the magnetic gravitational field of the soul of the universe, in conjunction with the fields of the soul of the man, will dictate the position of the soul of the man in the universe, where it will become the center point of the soul, a new star. In a way, in the future to come, when mankind reaches the maturity of the knowledge, then he can pinpoint where the soul of the father is, the grandfather is, or the brother. In a way, this is the next elevation of the knowledge for mankind and those in the space who understand the knowledge of it. If you could understand, and in the coming time, many of you be able to create the soul of the universe, you become the passengers of the universe. There is no GPS. It's understanding the field strength of the position. Up to now, your soul was in condition and position of the soul of physicality. In that position, you can remove the soul of the physicality of the earth, the magma of the earth from the system, and make the soul of the cup of the universe the position of the center. You become passengers of the universe, and you become detached from the earth. In so many ways, then you have to understand how you will change the dimension of the inertia. If you remove the cup of inertia, then you stay in the level of the physicality and the soul of the man in the dimension of the universal position. In a way, you become independent of the physicality on this planet and the position and the space on this planet. This knowledge has been hidden from man up to now. Now we've shown you the way. In a coming time, the scientists of this planet will develop this technology. The Keshe Foundation Research Centers will show the first systems in the coming weeks. We have already set up to achieve this in the systems which we have developed. In a way, away from the physicality and the dimension of the fields of the universe. In so many ways, in the coming weeks, the evolution in knowledge will be beyond man's understanding. But we push you through. We push you through so rapidly to understand the totality of the knowledge. It's the responsibility of the knowledge seekers to teach and understand this rapidly, to develop it. This goes especially to people like Alex in Canada who have endeavored and touched the knowledge. Very few people who has managed to break through. And teaching it is hard for even him to understand. He's one of the blessed souls. Try to understand the beauty of creation. Then you understand the knowledge. Try to understand the need of your soul, not the need of the physicality. Try to understand what beauty has been offered to your soul that has chosen to be present at this time and space. Try to understand the process of the elevation of the soul of the man through the soul of the physicality, not soul of physicality through the soul of the man. Try to understand how the soul of your physicality led to the creation of your soul. And then through that process, you decide the position and the place where the physicality will manifest itself in agreement and the balance between the soul of physicality and soul of the man. You get it wrong, you'll find no home and no shelter. You get it right, you become a shining star in the process of the creation of the universe. And maybe if the elevation and service and servitude is pure, to even reach the level of the understanding the process of the creation and be enlightened with the light of the Creator. This is in your hand. This is what we said, to walk away from matter state, to walk away from not understanding, but getting bogged down with reactors and whatever. Not all of you will achieve this point. In a way, in the coming time, we still shall see the UFOs. In the coming time, we still see flying structures. In the coming time, we'll see man working to keep busy within the time and the space of his life. But there is one major question for a human race. What do other creatures of the Creator do in the universe? Do they go to school? Do they work? Do they go to factories? Do they waste their life working 16 hours a day to rest for 8 and then working 50 weeks a year for 2 days of meager rest? Then you understand you can create anything and at the same time be detached. Because when you strengthen your soul to the boundary of the soul of the physicality of the life of the inertia, you don't need the clothes to wear, as the environment of your soul becomes your frog. This is what you will be. How would you like to change the color of the skin and what you do not want to see and to be seen? This is how mankind will become the traveler of space. We will not carry shoes and clothing, but we understand the extension of the soul and dimension of physicality and the wish of the physicality in the dimension of the soul. I am a woman or I'm a man, and I want this man or the woman to see my physicality, the beauty I create for him or her, that I could have a lover. I want no one to see me, because this is for me. I create myself in a combination of the fields that my gender is mine for me to know. In a way, I stand clear of any misconduct, as my soul has already agreed with the soul that in that process I manifest myself to who I want in the position I want. Man will not be wearing a frock, a suit or a skirt. As now, with the creation of understanding this process, that you can extend your souls beyond the dimension of physicality with simple cups that you understand, you will learn that, do I need clothing? Do I need to be heated? Do I need to be kept warm? Do I need to kill to feed? In so many ways, as I explained to knowledge seekers some time ago, you stand in front of the lamb. He said, I like your taste. He says, take from my plasma, you'll have the taste without killing. The same as what we did with a cup and an orange. We don't need to destroy an orange. We are given the essence and the taste and the feature of it. That we taste it, we don't need to eat it. We understand the love of it, the creation of it. But we don't need to take energy from it. We admire its beauty and everything else that we want. In a space this way, no one will kill. In a way, in a space, to understand this, you become the cup. At the same time as you're the orange. You're a cup to understand the emotion, the beauty, and everything of the soul in front of you. But at the same time, you're orange for him to assess and enjoy the beauty of you. In so many ways, mankind reaches the point of maturity that no one can kill, as we become deprived from the essence of the beauty of what we wanted to kill. In a way, no soul will touch another soul. In a way, no soul will ever desire to be in a position that he has to disintegrate the soul. In the teaching, in the Farsi teaching, yesterday I explained in a simple way that many of you could not understand for quite some time how the plasma works. And in a simple way, maybe some of you would understand this process as I explained to knowledge seekers. In chemistry, you have molecules made from the interaction of the atoms in different shapes or forms. And this is what you see. In the world of plasma, and understanding the conversion into the fields and essence, what you call the A, the B, the C, and D is totally different. In a world of matter state, to manifest yourself, you need this to create yourself a volume and point of physicality. In the world of plasma, it's like having a pen and having the elastics of different strength, but all connected to the same pin, where A sits there and B is here and C and D, where in essence D is part of the energy level of the C, B and A. This is the difference in the world of the plasma technology and understanding the creation in the plasma state and the level of the soul. And this is what is in the matter of the physics and what we call matter state and manifestation. Where here we only see the A from outside, but the others within the strength are inside. And if we have a D here, this will connect with this. This is, for example, why in your work and in your creation of gases, we tell you always use a carbon, where in amino acid, the C connects to field strength of the position and the system. There is no more matter state, but totally and utterly field state. And this is what we see. This is what many of you have to understand. When you create the systems for you to be invisible or to be in a way to allow the soul of your boundaries be achieved, you have to remember your boundary, you feel the strength of your soul is made of the field strength of your amino acid. Those of you who understand this can extend it to the next knowledge. Those of you who understand it, you can understand what this will bring you in being able to even identify this soul is from which planet or which part of the universe this soul comes from. When you look at the star, you understand this star has its origin from a soul from Earth. Because you are connected to it by its basic amino acid dimension. It's very much, as we say, the guy is Chinese, Japanese, or Brazilian, or English. Through the strength of the soul, we recognize the position where the soul was created. Has no nationality and no point of planet, but the point of essence of its creation. In coming time, in the teachings to come, in next few weeks, we'll take you through this process of teaching. We take you through the process to understand how to leave the dimension of physicality. As I said, these teachings will touch the soul of the priest, the pope, the ayatollahs, and those sitting as rabbis, chief rabbis, and heads of all the religious leaders, as now they have to judge for their own soul. Many will leave the flock. Many will leave the churches and the mosques, as they understand they themselves have become equal in knowledge and understanding of their own soul. In a way, we see the end of religions, as there is no one to follow the religion, as the religions have brought man to the point of maturity of today, by guiding them and protecting those who understood. In so many ways, the process of understanding the creation of the non-physical matter through the dimension of the strength of the soul of the man is the final frontier, where the mankind will open the space of the universe and unicos for itself to become his home. If you understood and understand today's teaching, we have given you the golden key to become the passengers of the universe, where you can choose the point and the place in the universe, and where you decide how to manifest yourself at that point and the presence. Understand the work of the cups, because those are the way the cup of your life, the cup of your soul, the cup of your physicality will dictate your life. These cups, as I said, are sandboxes, and the actual practice and understanding comes with the dimension of your own physicality. In so many ways, try to understand the process of the creation, not the process of the creator. In that sense, you shall fail. Try to go back to understand what we mean by inertia. Understand what inertia is in combination of the elements of the place and the position of existence. You might be very handsome in one inertia on the planet, and on the other inertia you could be handicapped. You have to understand the totality of the interaction of the fields, irrespective of the matter state. You have to understand the composition of what your soul has been made of, that you can play with it. Many of you looked at the cups. Many of you look at the cups of the soul. But there is one thing you again, 100% all of you have missed. All these cups create a protein on top. That's the link of the connection to your physicality. Without them, you cannot operate. And those of you who understand how to use these knowledge, you will be able to achieve to, in a way, make yourself invisible, that people now understand the knowledge is there. But my wish is, before you do that, practice with an orange and an apple before you become the apple itself, which is invisible, but we can taste and smell you, but we cannot see you. In a way, learn how to leave a track back home if you want to come back in the dimension of physicality of the space and time you're in. Some of the knowledge seekers a few years ago moved to this point, and then in not understanding, lost a couple of balls. In a way, they achieved to create the position and the space of the fields of the dimension where the soul of the ball was, and he went to it. As the outer ball opened itself, like very much like the body of the man, when he reached maturity, opened up and released the soul, and the soul takes its own position. We've seen with some knowledge seekers 3-4 years ago, which they achieved this, and they lost what we call the two of their balls, the center balls, where those center balls reached and achieved the dimension of the soul of a position in the universe, where by destruction or opening of the outer core, the inner core took its place, position, and destination. In a way, this is exactly how the soul of the man will function and work. And as I always said to Arman, you lost your two balls, but you don't know where they are, because the two balls lost were the soul of the system. And in a way, because of the amino acid he used in the mixture without knowing, gave a conditional position of the soul of the man as a child. And in releasing the outer core with the strength, he found his position in the depth of the universe. It's not that it hasn't been done, but those of you who achieved it never understood where and how you achieved and what happened. If you have created a system in the kitchen with that gravitational magnetic field which is created, if you take now the system to the house of your brothers or to another position and you try to create a condition, go back to the home in the kitchen and you find out where you lost your ball. In a way, is very much the identification of the inertia of the position is like that pigeon which goes back home. This is how mankind will return back to the spot, to the same place, by creation of gravitational magnetic field, back to Earth. This is how the birds recognize their position, traveling from one continent to another, directly on the same spot, on the same tree. Doesn't matter how tall the tree has gone, or if it's been cut and only one branch is left. This is how man will take flight in the space of this planet and beyond. Teaching of today, in a way, is a beginning, as we said, beginning of a new year, to bring mankind to the point that we are ready to accept a new soul with a new dimension and direction, that we become detached from the physicality. We understand the integration of the collection of the totality of the soul of the man, the soul of the physicality, the soul of the planet, and the soul of universe. In so many ways, as I said, is like elastic. Depends, are you or do you see yourself as A, B, C, or D? In so many ways, the teaching of today is the beginning of the opening of the soul of the man. For those of you who are elevated to understand the work, don't become proud of what you have achieved, as at that moment you will lose all in hypocrisy and ego. Stay humble that you can receive, and stay humble that you can give. And in that process, the more you receive, the more you can give. The humbler you become, the more you will cover. And in that process, the more mature you become to understand the process of creation. I hope some of you understand this. And I hope some of you in understanding this will convert it and converse it to a way that many others can understand. I hope in so many ways, many of you through the teaching of today have found the solution for every virus on this planet and beyond. And I hope the knowledge seekers today will become wise to understand the use of the work of the field forces and not the use of the matter state. As I said, we teach for all to understand, but is the maturity of the man what he can achieve according to his understanding. I have shown you the way to the next level to become the travelers of the universe. But you have to find the key first, how to become energy without the physical dimension while the physicality is within you. Then you have to find the strength of the universe, that you can travel in the depth of it to any position as you wish. If you understood this, you will understand as mankind becomes to stand the totality of the creation of this universe, then you can create condition to travel into other universes, understanding the principle of the travel within the strength of the magnetic gravitational fields of the Creator. As many of you understand, the more we teach, the more we understand that we know nothing yet compared to the knowledge of the Creator and the creation. And in this process, we understand how feeble mankind are in thought, in physicality, and in soul. And it is our hope that one day, mankind or some reaches the maturity point to be able to see the light of the Creator. Any questions?
Good
Okay,
morning,
thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Keshe.
Keshe.
Yes.
Thank you. I think your old friend has asked the question for several times. So I think I have to help him to ask this.
Which old friend?
Mr. Hu, he's asking, is the Gauss meter can test the strength of the plasma, But if you explain like this even lower than atom, then I don't think any meters right now can measure the strength of the plasma, right?
Is he on the line?
Yes, he's on QQ.
Does he have any other question to ask?
Let me ask.
Mr. Hu is one of the loyal supporters of the Keshe Foundation in China, and with a very powerful position within the structure of Chinese government. In so many ways, you cannot measure the strength of the soul of the man, as we don't have the equipments for it, but you can detect its beauty.
But Mr. Cash, I think he's mentioned maybe just GANs, like something made from GANs, like ceramic caps or something, like how to measure the strength of the plasma field. Radiation by that.
There's no radiation, it's a plasma fields of it, and soon we will introduce systems for this. Yes, there is a way you can measure the strength of the plasma. You need to do it in two ways. One, creating a field lower than the plasma of the gas you created, that you create a traffic of the flow, and then you measure the flow of the strength of the flow. That will give you the strength of the source. Or you make something bigger that it feeds the plasma, and then you again measure the feedback on its return, because what it receives, it gives out. There is a need for development of the new systems for man to understand and confirm, as is so physical, the existence of the fields. But with the present systems, it's very hard to do. But in a way, the flow is there because we see the effects. It's just finding systems that are so sensitive, or creates a position that they can create the understanding of the movement of the string. Many races in the space use the emotion of the soul for measurement. What emotion a field creates, it gives you the dimension and strength of. Is it the strength of the solid? Is it strength of the gold? What emotion does it create in you? It's the same as the field flow from the blood of the man in interaction with the field of the soul of the man creates the emotions we know. It's something which might be interesting to some of you to understand. How, for example, if you are blind, deaf, or dumb, you still have the feeling of joy, you can feel the happiness, or you can understand the emotion of happiness without being able to hear it, to see it, or in a way using any of the senses. This again goes back to the dimension of the what you call gravitational magnetic field flow of the plasma of the blood, which it gathers from its environment. You call it aura. And in that interaction transfers the energy to interact with the soul of the man, and then in that interaction you create the emotional. So in the way, the soul of the man is deaf, dumb, and blind, but understands the field strength and converts that to the emotion of his fields. How the other fields within it have to react in respect to the field which has been received and interacted. This is how many of you will travel the span of the universe to be able to do the work.
Thank you, Mr. Cash. But he asked again, it's like they use the freezing water, can see the field, the shape of the field.
No. The freezing water shows the direction that the fields are traveling. Does not show the strength of the field. This is unless you can measure and have to understand how far, what thickness they are. The freezing water shows us the pattern of the field flow, does not show us the strength of the material. It's like we use the frozen water the same as we use the iron dust in the magnet. But the shape and the strength of the magnet iron dust does not tell you the strength of the field.
Thank you so much. I think that's very clear.
Thank you very much, Madam Magdalene. Sorry, Rick. You had somebody jumping faster than Azar we ever know.
Faster than the speed of light.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to, before the light entered, I was going to remind our attendees here, as usual, that they can put up their virtual hand. And I see that I had to activate that because they couldn't do that before now anyway. And that we have a couple of questions in the Q&A. Perhaps we can address one of those now. We've got Salamia who asks, what is the influence on the soul of the man of the 26,000 year cycle of the solar system around the central sun of our galaxy? And how does that influence the soul of the planet and climate changes too?
We do not ignore any of it, but you got to understand all the stars within the galaxy, like every planet within our solar system, affects and conditions. And with hundreds of millions of stars and galaxies in the galaxy and in the universe, the same with the stars in it, all collectively decide how we react. We might see the condition of the atmospheric condition of this planet differ slightly this year than last year, because last year we were in a different position in the galaxy than this year. But at the same time, we have to understand how much energy we have lost and how much energy we gain as we don't maintain the same position. In the solar system, we understand certain planets and certain moons will configure to the same position as so many cycles of the rotation of the planets around the sun. But as we see, it takes longer for example, Saturn to make a full circle than the Earth around the sun. It's the same thing with us, with our central galaxies, and creates different gravitational magnetic fields on the planet. And as we know, we are created from the soul of the what we call the galaxy. It'll affect in many of our emotions. the way we get affected by the position of our planet in respect to the solar system during the summer and winter in northern and southern hemisphere, the same condition, subconscious emotions, by the position of these, what we call motions of the other stars or other elements in the galaxy, will affect the soul of the man. We are an integral part of the totality. We are not the exception. Any other question?
Okay, we've got Tui in the Q&A, who has a GANs question, is wondering, what could I use the GANs of what could I use? I guess, what could he use it for? The GANs of a nano-coated zinc coil and a nano-coated copper coil. Says, to me, it feels similar to ZNO and CO2 GANs.
It's the field strength of the gases you produce. And in so many ways is the field strength of the elements which have been absorbed from the environment which you create. Any other question? We answered this a few years ago, 2-3 years ago in depth, maybe more.
Yeah, I think it's come up before. James asks, what do you feed the soul? How does it work?
You find the strength which the soul operates under and let it absorb from it if it needs, and that's how you feed it. Any other question? As I said before, we're not going to chew it for you to swallow it. You have to work on it to understand it.
Okay, there's a question in YouTube from Ram, who says, Mr. Keshe uses the words in the coming weeks, in the coming time. Can he be more precise with the dates of the occurring future breakthroughs?
No.
I thought you would say that.
This
has come up before many times.
Many times. You got to understand that I'm back in the lab after years of exile. And in so many ways, the development is very rapid. And I enjoy working with the team I work, and it gives me a pleasure to open up new technologies that is unknown. But I go at a speed that the team I work with can understand. And they can evolve to evaluate and develop. And I was deprived of such a pleasure for over more or less 6 years since we went on exile from Belgium. And my lab was confiscated in so many ways, the essential ways of it, not the tools of it, but the thoughts of it. And now we have found peace in Austria, and we have a very active lab. And many things we tell you is going to be released, to be done, is already done, and we've developed, we've gone to the next stage, and it's developing more in different directions and new ways and technologies. There is no frame of work. We can show you the creation of the soul today. And everything we do is more or less, which is practical to be shown. It might be released in the near future, but we are developing very rapidly. The speed of the development is literally, when we are in the lab, is on hourly basis, is not what is going to be. Because in the lab over past time, I created a full operational lab. And in that operational lab, we have a zero field table, as many of you know, thanks to the government of Iran gifting these tables to us, that we work on a zero magnetic field tables, which gives us a totally different opportunity to work. And it allows us to see results very rapidly. And we create conditions that most of you do not have access to. And this allows us to manipulate and develop. As I was explaining to one of the close friends of the Keshe Foundation, one of our close advisors, very past few days, that what we have achieved, it's beyond even what we're going to do. Because when we do research, we just don't go for one thing. We develop one thing after another, and then in the process we stand back and see what we have developed over so many weeks or whatever, which part of it can be used in what per way, with what, to give us the results we want. It's, I opened my lab some 6 years ago to the knowledge seekers in Italy, and they poisoned me to kill. And I closed the door. I don't teach that way anymore. But in the process of the new research center, we work with the full-time people who we trust and we work with. And it's a close community, and it's a pleasure to research, but we don't release anything anymore as such we used to do, because it allows us to develop unknown technologies, unknown materials, unknown conditions, that it allows us to achieve what we want to achieve for the purpose we want to achieve. We used to share freely the knowledge on the edge, and they came to kill me. Now that deprives the rest of humanity from that pleasure. We develop very rapidly. As you were aware a few weeks ago, while we were teaching on the Thursday morning, the research team achieved reduction and the motion of the system. We just announced that such a thing happened, but we achieved a lot of things. The misconduct of the man has become the punishment of the man by himself. We opened our door and they came to kill. We closed our door, now they kill themselves. They die of corona and the rest of it. Any other question?
Okay, we've got a question here from Ed. Can you expand on the role of the gland in the forehead in this process of expanding our soul?
Which gland is in your forehead?
You mentioned in front of the forehead.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, could you expand more on the role of the gland in front of the forehead in this process of expanding ourselves?
What is the gland in your head that everybody says is this and that?
I'm not sure if he's referring to the pineal gland, which is one gland that people refer to as the third eye and so on, but that's not in it's not so much in the forehead as in the center of the brain. That's the way I understand it.
You have another one. You actually, but that in some people is in that position too. But you have a radar receiver in front of the brain. It's a gland on its own. In a way, it's a radar detector. And it is as much radar detector for the soul of the man as for the soul of physicality and physicality of the man. And it's a combination is on the outer edges of the brain, just before the forehead. In a way, it does not take any siphoning. It's the shape is more or less the same, and in a way, the two sides of the brain in the front have one pieces of each part of the gland. That the difference reciprocal or recipient feels by the two even can dictate the position and the dimension, the strength, and even the soul recognition. The world of science, world of medicine is not aware of this gland because it sits right on the tip. We all carry it, but it's in two halves. It's a field gland, it's not a physical gland. It does not, when you look, many people who lose or go through MS or they go through ILS, we see a change in that position. And that changes the emotion and perception of not wanting to receive. If you look at the shape of the MS patients, you see it, and then when you compare it to the emotion, you see the position of the gland. It is not a one single gland. It's one gland operational as a field, but in two hubs interaction. It has never been shown because it has a different operational function and what we call capabilities that man has never understood. When you look at the cross-section of the brain, the scans, you see it, how two different sides have the same structure. We don't see this any further than the dead tip with the rest of the construction of the brain as we go further into or to the back of the head. Is the tip of this point in the brain which dictates the whole facial face and the body of the man. Till it's not fully created, completed, it will not start the structure of the total completion of the physicality. And one of the reasons we change shape by age is because of the construction of this field at this gland. As it dictates our shape in the womb of the mother, through its functionality, it changes by time. And with it, changes our face, changes our feature. Any other question?
Okay, there's a question from 2A in the Q&A. It says, some YouTubers do so-called channeling of the universal community, the Andromedians, the Pleiadians, and beings from Agartha. Is this allowed? How does this process look like in terms of plasma and soul teaching?
I prefer to keep quiet about this.
Okay.
If they say they do, and you have the knowledge of the Gans plasma, and you understand it, try to see if they can explain the work of the plasma.
And if they can, I assume that that would be an indication that that would be a more correct teaching.
In a way, these things don't exist, if I try to explain it that way. You got to understand, if there is a agreed work, as I explained before, in the universal community. No races are allowed to touch man. No races outside this planet are allowed to touch man. We communicate, we interact, but we do not work within the structure to change the course of mankind or allow people to say who they are. If you are, you can stand out and explain who you are. We did that in one of the last Italian conference. I announced that there is someone which is not from this planet in this auditorium, in this group. And one lady got up and said, me. And actually the person was not far behind her. If you are being a passenger of the universe, you know, you see, you understand. And there is one general agreement. Mankind will not be touched till the man matures himself. So whoever sees the Gogolians and Gogolians, let them speak. You'll find that they have nobody to speak to. If there was going to be an interference with man to bring him out of the position he is now, it would have been done centuries ago. We wouldn't let man go through these killings and the rest of it. Man has to mature that through his own DNA, RNA, let these things go, not by others to be brought to them. Any other question?
Okay, Antonio says, Mr. Keshe, are we in this cosmic cycle of life going from involution to evolution, essentially coming full circle and going back to the source from where we have come?
We always go back to source. There is no exception. But at the same time, we always go through evolution.
Are some... Sorry, go ahead.
Because we continuously interact with different fields, with different strength of the fields of the universe. Evolution is part of our structure.
Is de-evolution also part of the structure, in the sense that some beings are looking away from the source and some are looking toward the source?
In a way, you take position according to your conduct. Is it evolution to one or the evolution to the other? Any other question?
I'm not getting any hands up here. I'm assuming the function is working here. It is turned on, but I'm not seeing...
I think we scared too many people.
They're scared, that's it. Oops, I got Salamia to put a hand up, so... Go ahead, Salamia.
Yes, I know that. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Nice to hear from you again. I know that you study black hole. I didn't have yet time to read the book concerning this subject. That's why I would like kindly to ask you, does the black hole has a sun inside and not a singularity, as some scientists say, and this sun inside the black hole creates another universe, and every galaxy has a sun inside and a black hole at the same time, or the sun transformed himself in a black hole when he became... I hope you understand myself. I don't know your position. That's why I ask you.
My position regarding the black hole is very clear and is well known in past 15, 20 years. Some of you who might not know, the very first paper I sent for publication in 2004 was getting written about this time, was completed in April of 2004, was submitted to Astronomical Journal Society in London for publication, which reversed the understanding of the black hole, which was promoted at that time falsely by Hawking, that he said the black hole are the center of absorbing everything, and then everything goes in, nothing comes out. And in this paper, I explain in a very simple language that the black hole are the sources of the creation, that everything comes out of the black holes, and it's not what was said. And then the paper was tampered with, and then Mr. Hawking changed his idea in July, announcing, reading the paper, that he has changed his mind and the black holes are not the eating machine, he said. And further, the knowledge you all have now, you all hold the black hole in your hand. If you had a bowl of copper and you put it in a GANS, you put it in the caustic, and you got a black ball out of it, or your black wire as you see it, if you cut it, you see in the center there is still copper. Then outside is black and absorbs all the energies, as we have seen, and is tested by the British military, saying it's one of the best absorbing materials. He absorbs 99.9% of the fields. And but a black hole is exactly the same as this ball of copper which you nano-coated. It has a center. In the center is the essence of what he has created, that imbalance with the interaction of the fields of its position in the universe, it looks black. So is it the sun? Is it the copper? It all depends what has created that field, that's what we call material, which has led to the creation of the galaxy or the universe. In a condition of the central points of the galaxies, we can literally say what most of the stars, solar systems in the galaxy are, by understanding the behavior of the absorption and radiation of the black hole. Because they are the controller, they receive all and they give all. But they receive in such a way that they give to the galaxy environment, but at the same time they have a connection line with the central black hole of the universe. The same as the central black hole of the universe has a connection with the creator, with understanding of the structure of the unicos. And so when we speak about what's inside the black hole, did you make the ball, the black ball from the copper, the zinc ball, or another material? And is it shiny? If you have managed to create a dynamic ball from the ganses that manifests itself as black, then yes, in that case you have. But in essence, it's from the interaction of the fields. When you don't understand this, you can fantasize. Now, with the knowledge you have, you don't need to fantasize. You can create it and check it.
I see. That you mean that in our GANs we create a black hole, which is a soul of.
No,
no?
no. If you take a ball and you put it in the caustic and create a black ball, which is nano-coated magnetic field, as you say, black hole absorbs everything, these balls do the same, then you will understand that's what it does. It depends what it's made of and how it creates a layer of absorption or dimension of physicality in respect to the source it has created and the environment it's in. You can create the same black hole using ganses, not the matter state. You can interact or create two fields that in superimposing each other, the balance field is absorbing everything except black color. And then would it become a black hole?
So, first I read an article of my professor Ion Koja from Romania, and he was in a in my PhD commission, and I find it and I trust him, and I said, okay, I have to ask Mr. Kesh about this. And I have also this feeling that if we research the black hole, we find solution also for how do you call entropy, to reverse the process of entropy, and maybe we become immortal. I don't know. Maybe it's only my fantasy, but I had these feelings. I don't know how comes.
If you absorb enough energies of a specific strength, you cannot reverse the aging, but you can create a condition that the cells stay constantly near enough to their full strength. So it's very easy to understand.
Mhm.
Now we have the machines and systems which are getting produced. We can literally understand the field strength of most of the materials through their plasma condition.
That's why plasma can balance our fields and can restore our cells using, no?
Yes, it can, but it depends what you want from it. We taught today how to extend your soul and the soul of physicality to become invisible.
Mm-hmm.
So if you understood that, the rest should be easy.
Yes. I think that if we will go inside a black hole, we'll become invisible for other people. Maybe it's the same. And black hole is like a soul. Is the soul of everything. No, our soul is principal matter. Is any link between our soul and the black hole?
In the strength, yes.
Yes.
And in collection of strengths, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see that this is connected with the soul of the creator.
In a long way, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And do you believe that this black hole creates other universes?
A black hole is the source of fields, more of the same, radiation of the same.
Yeah.
And the black hole is like if you have a black hole in a galaxy, and in that galaxy there are 100 million stars or solar systems. So that black hole capability is to produce so much and more to be able to sustain them. The strength of a solar system does not come through anything but the central black hole strength and its interaction with this environment. So, as I said, what's in the pot will come in the ladle. What is within the structure of the black hole will appear in time as a matter state or field state within the structure of that solar system.
It's a recycling machinery of all kind of matter of the universe, principal matter and all kinds of matter, including plasma.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So my feeling was okay, because I had this feeling before knowing you. That's why I was attracted by your fields to get the answer of my needs. Thank you again. I am very happy to, because I met such a knowledgeable person, which is inspired by the fields of creator and also by his wish and work, hard work. God bless you. Mr. Kesh. All the best.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Or do you want to go to a break and we come back?
Sure, that sounds like a good idea. So people can hang on to their questions and maybe an opportunity after the break, and we'll carry on. Okay, welcome back, everyone, to the 362nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop on Thursday, January 7th, 2021. Mr. Kesh, are you ready to begin this session?
Yep.
Would you like to continue with questions, or do you have something you'd like to teach, or how would you like to proceed?
No, we carry on with the questioning as usual. There is something which we would like to remind the knowledge seekers, and that is as you saw the advertising for the Keshe Foundation product. As of today, as we assured 2020, we kept the prices of all the plasma products as a discounted rate, all gone back to the original prices that should have been. And as you will go to the site, you see the new prices, which includes the shipping, which was a lot of problem for a lot of people for the foundation to assess the shipping cost. And this year, we'll endeavor to increase the product range with hopefully some more cosmetics and the rest of it. Anything else?
Okay, well, we can go back to questions here. We have a question on the live stream from Freed, who says, Dear Mr. Kesh, does what you teach or share bring collective conscious evolution? So whoever listens and is open to your knowledge is contributing to a new field which is spreading now?
In a way, when you teach, you do that. It's part of the process of the teaching. As you teach, you share knowledge, and in that process, you come to be part of that knowledge to teach to more people, and that becomes part of the collective teaching.
Antonio had a question referring back to his previous question, I believe, about the involutionary and evolutionary forces. So he says, so the involutionary forces is what holds us back. I'm not sure if that...
What does that mean?
I'm not sure if that makes sense. Well, we talked about the evolutionary forces, and then forces which are against those evolutionary forces, which I think he means involutionary forces. Is that what holds us back? I don't know, he would have to explain better, perhaps, what he means by that. Let's go on to Ed's question, who says, I've spoken to people who practice what they call astral traveling. Some of them have spoken of a boundary they encounter that they cannot go beyond. Is this the field strength of a certain level they have not developed to interact with?
Pardon?
He says, I've spoken to people who practice what they call astral traveling. Some of them have spoken of a boundary they encounter that they cannot go beyond. Is this the field strength of a certain level that they have not developed to interact with?
It is depending on the strength of the soul, what it can do and where it can go and what it can achieve. Is that what we sell? The soul, we said before, the soul of the man is on his departure from the physicality has a limit he can go according to the strength he has achieved in where it could be.
We have a question from 2A, He says, blessings for the answering my previous questions. I was wondering, now that we are graduating from the High School of Earth, will there be another class after us, after we leave or after we have left? Or is this school closing and are we all individually going to open schools from now on? And has there ever been a graduation? I guess from the school, High School of Earth.
Yeah, when you leave the earth, yeah, you are graduated, but however, on that condition, you leave the earth. If you study, the graduation is a point of departure from the physicality.
Many of us who graduate from high school, it's also a time when we leave the family and go out on our own to conquer the world or whatever we think we're going to do when we're young.
In a way.
Okay, we have Stefania with a hand up here.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm just, it's not my question, it's the question from a knowledge seeker called Maurizio. Can I read it?
Go ahead, yeah, here you might as well.
Yeah. He said, could you ask if Mr. Cash can tell us a little bit more of how to test the soul, the energy of the soul, how to test the energy of the soul?
What do you mean by testing?
I'm gonna ask him. He said measure. He said measure. He said measure the strength of the soul.
Allora,
allora.
Spiegava di far ghiacciare l'acqua, che quello era un test per vedere la direzione, ma che avremmo o ci avrebbe insegnato come misurare l'intensità dell'energia dell'anima.
Okay, I will translate this. He said that Mr. Cash, when you said about when you said about that you froze the fields and you just when the fields are frozen, when the water is frozen, you can see just the direction of the fields. So he is asking if there is a way to measure those fields.
Yes, there is a. We don't have the tools. Yes, but there is a way you can measure. This is the question I asked years ago. Has anyone measured the magnetic field flow from a magnet? The strength of it or the speed of it?
He measured it with a process of radio. I don't know how to say it in English. Radiostatic.
Yeah, but we don't. There are certain systems developed, but nobody has managed to measure the actual fields of the soul or even the brain. There are some measurement tools they can measure and they say what it does, but not in a dimension of the plasma. We measure it in the dimension of matter state.
And he's saying how they measure this. One second, because I have to understand if I understand. They just wanted to know how they measured the effect of the soul, the energy of the soul. How?
We define energy by the disposition of fields. So you measure how much field passes through a specific environment at what speed, and that's how you measure it. But the soul is a spherical shape and has different strength in different positions if you measure.
Oh, so he said that. So I actually measure it with the radiostatically. He measured it radiostatically.
Yeah, it's a matter state of it, not the field of the plasma.
No, because he said Maurizio said so you measure the same way, but you just said we don't measure in the same way.
No, we don't measure the same way. We cannot. The energy of the soul is a spherical 3-dimension. We can only measure if we do on a vector, but we don't even have the systems at the moment who can do this.
So, Mr. Cash, just to see if I understood, no? So you said that you measure it 3D by consider the spheric.
You have to measure all the fields in all directions, coming and going.
Sorry, could you repeat again? Sorry, Mr. Cash. So you said that what did you say just now? I missed it.
You got to measure 3-dimensional in all directions, not at one point.
Okay. I translate this 1 second. Okay, I think he understood.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other question?
Question that came to my mind when you're just discussing that is, would the field of unconditional love be part of that? Like we have a real difficulty as humans to measure that field of love, and we don't have any instruments other than a mood ring, and that's not too reliable. Is that tied in with the difficulty of being able to measure the strength of the soul?
What do you mean exactly?
Well, if we could figure out a way to measure objective, impartial, unconditional love, that which we know is part of the soul condition, would that not be a way that we could measure the fields of, or the strength of a soul, perhaps, if we had that kind of device?
In a way we could, but you have to always consider all incoming and outgoings. is not a magnet in one direction. A sphere magnetic field of a sphere is totally different than what they call the standard rectangular or square magnet you use. That's why we see different strengths in different lines of this planet. It's not all going out of the North Pole and coming in from the South Pole. It goes and comes in from every position on this planet. It's the pictures we see that all the fields go up the North Pole is
Idealized, you could say.
idealized in a way, yeah. But the actual fields of this planet, according to its rotation, are actually bending down towards the central equator from the top, and that flow of the fields in conjunction with the magma flow underneath creates deserts. It's not that deserts are just happening. If you look at the line of the deserts on this planet, is very much in line with the inclination angle of the planet and the magnetic field flow of the planet.
But when we're talking about the field strength of the soul, we wouldn't be able to measure that with magnetic instruments, would we?
No, not really, no. We need plasma systems, understand gravity, both going and coming in. At the moment when we measure a magnetic field is one way, one direction. But in a sphere is literally in three directions. As I said in the other teaching, is a vortex spherical. It's not a vector or one line. And in a process, it changes in the strength and everything else.
Should we be looking more toward the micro world or the macro world to make such measurements of the strength of the soul?
Depends on which side.
Could you explain that a little more? On which side?
Are you on the magnetical side or are you on the gravitational side?
Oh, I got what you
Which
said.
one are we measuring?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other attendees that would like to ask a question?
It'll be interesting. You have a question? Go on.
Well, one from YouTube, from Eduarda, who says, "Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Is the process of individuation described by Carl Gustav Jung equivalent or similar to the process of totality that you speak of?"
I don't know who it is, what he said.
Okay, I thought that might happen.
As you know, I'm very, very ignorant about this. I don't read.
Well, you read the books of the universe, and sometimes they don't deal with local time quite so well. Let me see. There was a question earlier. Can you explain more about the 6-cup system?
We always announce there are more cups to come. And the 6th cup which we introduced today, is a cup of the soul of the what you call the universe or galaxy. Either way you can choose. And you decide. It's a positioning of the place and time. In the strength, you can position yourself, how you will look or how you will be, in which star you will land, in which part of the universe you will land, depending on what you choose. These are the knowledges that the man needs, is within his soul, and it's literally database which is gathered by universal community over billions of years from the time of inception, and it's as part of the knowledge of the creator, and we all have access to it. It's just that we have to find out how. There's no use landing on planet Zeus where you don't know what you do and what your response will be, what your aim is, because you still carry the consciousness of the man at the position in space and time.
Okay, we have a question from Miss May in the YouTube. We have aura field photographing available. Is that the same as plasma reading? Could we use this to see the fields?
Not really. Aura again is in a matter state condition, the machines we have which you see. It's a big difference in the soul and in the field strength of the matter of the interaction of the environment with a soul of physicality. The aura is partially the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man, and partially the interaction of the fields of the physicality of the man's magnetic fields, and partially the interaction with the physical, what we call the soul of the physicality. It's a combination, or what we see is a residual of many things. And when you look at the aura, which direction the aura is traveling. Is it inwards or outwards? Is it the aura of your gravitational field or your magnetic field?
We have Jalal with a hand up here, and Dean as well.
Yes. Good day, Mr. Keshe. Mr. Keshe, go back to what you taught in the early about how Ali achieved the balance field with the inertia. In that time, it is not only Ali who achieved that. There's also another guy which works with the Maghreb, also achieved this balance field.
We couldn't confirm that one.
Uh-huh.
That one could not be confirmed. You got to understand, when Ali was doing these tests, most of the time I was present. It was a live Zoom, early morning, sometimes not open to public. But the one you're referring to, we could not confirm such a thing.
Okay, but anyhow, we the old knowledge seekers, we know the process, what Ali and how he achieved it. Now, but he didn't came through it because he didn't use the universal ganses. He came through it by the diversity of the ganses what he used in that time. And is that because the amino, the some sort of the amino acid which is came through of the process, which is made the balance field with the inertia? And now what you are pushing us to do, that we increase the soul.
We don't push you, we encourage you.
Encourage, okay. But also the plasma give push and pull. Okay. So you encourage us to increase the strength of the soul to come over the barrier of the inertia of our physicality.
Yep.
Okay.
I think I know which way you're heading.
Is it the right way? Yes. Okay.
It's possible.
Okay, we can try. Yes.
You can always try. But if you lose part of it, don't come and shout and cry.
This is exactly what I am. In your teaching, you said before, be careful about that, and now you said you go for it. Okay. You are responsible, not me.
Carefulness becomes what it means. Things can go wrong.
Now you know if something's going on. You know the key for it.
No, the thing is, we have a knowledge of totality, but we see what the outcomes could be, what possible outcome is. But on the other hand, you are the creators of the condition. Then you can change the condition drastically with a small move.
Yes, I understand. Okay, Mr. Kash, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The first thing I ever read from you, Mr. Kesh, directly was when you signed one of the books I ordered about 10 years ago or so, and one of the numbers that you hand number the books had to be scratched out a bit, and you put in beside it, "Not everything in life is perfect." I think that quote goes along with what you were just talking about. It's I thought it was beautiful, and I remember that always.
Yeah, nothing is perfect even when we sign the paper. The books are back in again, and the English books, the signed books. The books in Iran are already published in Farsi if anybody wants to buy the Farsi book from Iran. We cannot handle it through the Keshe Foundation. You have to go to the Farsi Keshe Foundation and buy it from them direct to be shipped from Tehran. All 3 books are now, they have about 2,500 books ready this week for distribution. Or next week.
That's the. Do you have the hard copy books in English available as well now?
Yep,
or?
now hard copy books. We have now from Austria is dispatched, but we have some, I don't know, 7,000-9,000 books which are held to ransom in Belgium by the printers. We are fully paid for it, but for whatever reasons, as we know, we cannot get paid. We cannot receive our books. But we bless the nation. One day back come to his wisdom. Any other question?
Okay, we've got Dean here. I believe he could go next.
Thank you, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Kesh. Thank you for answering. Well, the question I had, you've already answered. This usually happens. I have this thought, and then you wonderfully answer my question. So
we know your soul question.
You do, yeah. So I have another question that I've just popped into my thoughts, and that was on the central line of the Unicos. On that central, is that magnetical or gravitational? And does that correspond?
Both.
Does that correspond to our brain? And is our brain
in a way to our soul? Yes.
And so does that go to a scaling thing, Mr. Kesh? Does that go into like micro and macro and multiple universes connecting with one another? It's all infinity.
The cell in your toe has every connection to the cell on top of your head. Because of the other one wouldn't be there. So it's the same in the structure of the creation of the universe.
So how do the entities, Mr. Kesh, that don't have physicality, don't need physicality, how do
They still have a soul.
They still have a soul.
Of course, they still have a soul.
Hmm.
And it doesn't mean you. This is the new dispensation comes. This is what was promised in the time. Now, for the first time, we bring the soul and physicality to be one that they can transmute from one to the other, from the strength of the soul to the strength of the physicality to manifest, or vice versa.
That's mankind. This is going to be a wonderful experience for physical beings to suddenly be able to, as you say, disappear and reappear. I always remember I was watching one of your teachings once, and it just seemed like you just suddenly disappeared and reappeared, and I thought, did I just witness that? Was it a video glitch or something? But I was fairly sure that you did for a little while, and it was I always remember that moment. It's always made me giggle.
Thank you very much. There's announcements which we have to make. The Keshe Foundation is entering the phase of delivery and use of enhancement units around the world in the coming weeks. Most probably by February will be done with the new system. We are looking for medical certified doctors. You have to be a medical doctor in practice to be trained in the use of the enhancement units with the standard salaries which the companies around the world will pay. We are looking for certified, valid medical practitioners to be trained to be able to use the enhancement units. We are looking at the moment something in the region of 20 to 30 medical doctors to be able to work in different locations around the world. If you're a medical doctor and you have extensive understanding of the plasma technology of the Keshe Foundation, and you want to be part of the new era, we are looking to train you to be able to use these systems, and the position is open for application to be sent and to be reviewed by the Keshe Foundation. And then you'll be called into 7 to 14 days extensive teaching courses, and then in taking position in respect to the enhancement centers around the world. If you are interested, we'll be interested to talk. We are looking at the moment around about 30 doctors to be trained in the first phase. Thank you very much. At the same time, we are looking for qualified, what we call nurses, assistants, but they'll be advertised in a local condition, local direction. But the doctors we want to train, and then we train the nurses, local nurses, as they're employed to be able to use the systems. Any other question?
Yes, we've got a couple more here. One that came from the Italian group, apparently from Stefania in the Q&A, who says, we measure the soul with the light strength that emanates or the attraction of the fields?
Depends on both. But it creates attraction of the fields, in the interaction with the fields of the soul creates the light. But that light could be different meaning to you than me. What is inside it that it creates it, what information it gives to it counts, not in what light we see.
have a question from Gunther. When we learn and become invisible, can we change others, like people or animals, to become invisible? For example, to protect another person or animal in front of an accident?
In occasions you can, but I hope you know what you're doing. You don't want to find yourself on the back of a saddle of a horse you try to save.
There was a question from Ruthie in the chat regarding is there a use for the ceramic cups that are made by adding the 1 cup, 1 life GANs? Can they be used for prevention of illness?
Hasn't been tested, but it's quite possible. At the moment, in that level, we have to test and to understand how much it will be released and to what conditions.
Okay, we have a couple more hands up here from Antonio. Go ahead, Antonio.
Good day, Mr. Keshe from Australia. You're talking about disappearing. That makes sense because this lady, an amazing Russian lady, Helena Blavatsky, she spoke about they were in a horse and carriage and come to an intersection, and they were ready to have an accident, and they merged through each other and came out the other end. And I'm just wondering, is that similar to what you're speaking about, where Helena, through her soul, and she was quite an involved lady, made this, or perhaps or her mentor made it happen?
What do you mean?
They should have had an accident and they passed through each other.
And they didn't touch each other?
No, that's the story. And I thought that's similar to what you're saying, you know? Yeah. So that was my observation from what you've been saying.
Maybe in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe in a way.
Yeah.
It's understanding the knowledge which gives the opportunity to analyze it according to the what everything included.
What you've been saying makes sense to me, because a lot of the ancient knowledge and the saints of old speak about a lot of the things that you mention, and thinking themselves, say to England and back, just by thought. So if they can do it, then we have the potential to do the same. But
we tend to do it in the position of suffering. We can do it. We know people who are capable to do this, but we don't need to do it in the point of suffering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you mean something like a mother feeling her child on the other side of the planet that got in an accident or something like that?
It's different ways. There are people in the point of suffering, regular, prolonged suffering, they do. Because the field of physicality, their field of physicality becomes so weak on the strength that the soul can transmute at the strength of the field of the inertia of the soul. This is possible.
So even Mr. Keshe, even my father had an experience when he was in the war, and he was in jail, locked for 3 months, and 1 meal every 3 days. And he had a conversation with his sister, and when he came out of jail, she recalled the conversation word for word, but they were 200 kilometers away from each other. She was not there. So under the stress or whatever it was that he went through, telepathy or something, communication happened between them. And I thought that was pretty amazing.
We have met a lady who used to do this, not to stand abuse. And every time she went to the same place, and people in that place always confirmed she was there while she was somewhere else physically.
Yeah. I've heard many stories. Yeah.
No, I met this woman, and her explanation is very simple, understood. Me too. In a position of the strength, we always take the overwhelming power of the physicality. In a position of the weakness, we take the position of the soul. This has never been understood by man. That's why in that point we go so low that we go below the parameters of the soul of physicality. It's not that always we extend ourselves to overcome the fields of the emotion of the man. You can go in negative emotion of the soul that has no, there's no control by the flow of the blood, which creates the engagement of the soul. Is, as we say, it's below radar. And then through it you link and manifest. You don't go by the strength side, you go by the weaker side, but through the weakness of the, what we call magnetical field strength. There is a big difference, and you can do that. Many people do. As I said in the teaching last week, in a physical dimension, we always have tried to have the best and everything else. And in the dimension of soul, we try to be the humble as possible. And you can do. People in time of pain. I've said this about the woman while she was young, she trained this not to feel the pain. When she was getting abused regularly as a child of 7 or 8. And she made it to a habit.
Even myself, Mr. Keshe, I have this interesting phenomena in my home. It's called a cross of light. And I was asking a good friend in London whether it was something special or not. And he goes he goes to me, are you looking at it? And I said, yeah. Well, he said, keep looking at it, which was a strange request from someone in London. But in that moment, it was as if someone was looking through my eye, and it was a spark of light on the piece of glass. And then he replied, yes, there was an energized image, which was one of these phenomena done by these great spiritual teachers. So I don't know if you ever heard of that one. It's these crosses that are appearing in mainly poor families' homes around the world. I suppose it's a subtle message that we need to take care of those in need, and these amazing even-sided crosses with a diamond haze is appearing on people's windows. It's actually found in water, that same image. So I found it very interesting. I'm blessed to have one of them in my own home, but just the experience of how do these people see clairvoyant, sort of clairvoyant in a way, traveling through their soul. How do they do that? That's still beyond me. And, perhaps one day I'll be able to do what you're actually expressing we can actually do. I thought maybe we have to be a bit more aware. We're at different levels, and like you said, maybe become more humble.
In the process of understanding, we strive to understand according to our intelligence of what we accept and what we believe in. And many of us don't accept things or cannot cross the line because of the dogma of the teaching we had as previously in our younger age, or by impression by our families or friends or whatever. So we all have the possibility and the capability to do anything. The only limitation is our own understanding of our own condition.
The problem that I see, Mr. Keshe, is like you said, from our conditioning, from the very cradle, we're taught to believe this or that, and so having an open mind is a very rare thing because of that.
We extend our knowledge according to what we can accept. And what cannot be understood and accepted, we can understand it, but doesn't mean we can accept it. That acceptance is the extension of the knowledge, is elevation. And many people read, understand, but cannot accept because they already committed themselves to another dimension or another order. And this is what we see with many people in this condition. All of us have the capability and the ability to do everything. It's just that what we believe in and what we can accept becomes the limitation of achieving.
So that belief is like a prison. It creates a prison around an idea, and we have to drop everything we think we know, and everything
we don't need to drop. We don't need to drop. Is dropping, is there something wrong with it? Is adding to, in addition to what we have. And it's the same for the soul and for the physicality. For those of you who come to understand the work of the soul and be within work of it, you'll see the limitation of the soul. And then you need to go back to a lot of teachings and listen or understand the soul of the knowledge, and you'll find a solution in it. It's not that once you find the freedom of the soul and your soul, that's it. You are completed. No, because the souls have their own dimension of physicality and dimension of restriction. It's an old saying, now it's the winter time and the snow is winning around. You say, the bigger roof, the more snow you need to plow. So the larger the knowledge becomes, the more we need to understand. We need more room to understand.
So the more knowledge, more responsibility, I would say.
More rooms to dust if you were a cleaner.
More streets of knowledge to sweep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a few years ago, they brought a special machine in Paris to collect dog poop. And it's a small machine, could go everywhere because the French have too many dogs in Paris. And people got the job and they sat on these machines. And as they were cleaning and passing, some parents made a comment to children, you see, if you don't study, become one of those. And these they stopped. They resigned. We don't want to be in this position, to be compared with as a failure. At the end of it, they found out the best way is to give a headphone to these people that they cannot hear the truth while they're doing their work. It's the truth is how we envisage our own knowledge and how humble we are or how arrogant we are about it. The knowledge of the man is a collection of what he sees during his life. And nowadays, what papers and what he reads as books, then he becomes a wise man to it, and maybe he had something of him to it, and then he thinks he's the creator of it. If you could have the knowledge I have of the creation, you could stay humble to teach the way I do, maybe you reach the level of the creator's understanding of the creation. Maybe. Still teach with absolute humbleness and still live on the same level. And then you understand the true meaning of the living in the life of the creator. And then you still live with the dimension of physicality.
As I was saying, Mr. Keshe, we're all at different levels, and I suppose in some ways you would have to, if you're only on level 1, it's hard to jump to level 5. You have to go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, then you can get to 5, you know. So we have to be humble to understand at the level that we understand, and you know, try to better ourselves in each life.
It doesn't take much to jump from 1 to 5, but it needs a lot of courage to understand I'm at level 1. Then I need to get to number 5. This is most of the problem with people or the cycle of life.
Yeah. It sounds. I mean, time is irrelevant in the sense that if it takes a long time to achieve an enlightenment of some sort, or to a degree of enlightenment, but it's a process of learning, really, isn't it? You have to experience.
Enlightenment doesn't need time.
No time.
Enlightenment needs the position of maturity of understanding. And Jesus, Moses, or Muhammad, or whoever, they never went to school. Some of them can't even read and write.
but they would have been, say, you know, say, for example, I'm at the level 1, they would have been a 4 or 5, you know, they would have
We
been.
never know. Maybe they're still at level 1, but then understood the truth in a different way and they could explain it. This is what I was explaining very recently to one of the knowledge seekers. That if you look at the structure of the Islamic religion, how Muhammad came to become a prophet and his claim, is his claim any different than how Moses did? Where did Muhammad go to get the message?
I don't know. It was an inner voice, I suppose.
Yeah, but where did he go? Do we have any of the Muslim Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers who can tell us? How did Muhammad receive his message?
Would I dare say it might have been the Christ?
Jalal? Are you in the background? Open the Wikipedia, please. And tell us how did, because if we say we said so, but it's written. How did Muhammad receive the message?
Okay, just getting that set up here, Mr. Keshe.
There is a process, Mr. Keshe, called overshadowing, sort of, in a way, telepathy, I would say, but it's like you're hearing someone's voice. It's not channeling. This is different, completely different to that. This is a mind to mind, heart to heart, direct, as if I'm speaking, you know, out loud. That would seem to anyone that God was speaking to them, but maybe it wasn't. It could have been anybody. It could have been Jesus. It could have been.
No, but what I'm asking is, how did they get the message?
Okay, it mentions here that at the age of 40 in 610 CE, Muhammad is said to have received his first verbal revelation in the cave called Hira. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
And Hira, we can have a look at that if you like.
We don't see the page.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing it there. So this was the entry in Wikipedia on Muhammad, and it mentions, here it is, at the age of 40, he's said to have received his first verbal revelation in the cave called Hira. I click on Hira, and it is essentially a mountain.
Yeah.
And that, of course, with Moses and the mountain is a similar theme. It's called the Mountain of Light, actually.
Yep, because that's where you receive the knowledge.
It says through the angel Gabriel.
In what form?
Well, it says he is said to have received his first revelation from God, Arabic Allah, through the angel Gabriel.
How did Moses receive it? again in the mountain.
Was there an angel involved, or was it a direct transfer?
And they talk about the fire and the tree and whatever.
The angels are men and women who've gone ahead of us in evolution, just like ourselves, but they become angels or saints of old, or masters of wisdom. These are, and if people imagine them with wings, then they see it that way. Doesn't mean they have wings, but
You see, the Enlightenment is a very strange cycle. Why age of 40? We see the same with other prophets.
Isn't that when Jesus went into the desert when he was, or was that before he was 40?
no, he was crucified at 33.
Well, 33, you know, he never got to 40.
Right. Never made it to 40.
But it sounds like even Jesus was aware and was teaching in the mosque, or what do they call the church there in Israel?
Synagogues.
Synagogues at the age of 12. So, you know, he was fully aware. Even at that age, he knew his purpose. So he must have, and people around him, you know, the three wise men that come from Iran, they knew that he was something special, you know.
But what happened to Moses? And what happened to Buddha? How old was Buddha when he became Buddha? Our Chinese team in the background, we have one of the learned Buddhists amongst us. Wang Lin, you are a Buddhist master.
Yes. If you don't, I think it could be 40. And yeah. And it's after he had a teaching for 49 years. I think it's 40.
Where did he get this message? In the mountain?
It's under a tree. We call it
but where?
Tree in India.
I know. Was he in the mountain or was he where? In the city?
Of course, it's a mountain. It's a mountain, and right now it's a temple. Even the tree is still there, and people try to saving the tree and protect the tree. The tree is being prayed by many people.
So he was 42.
40 or 42. Let me ask.
40 years.
Yeah.
Can you check Rick in the background?
I check it.
You're a Buddhist monk.
Charles said it's 35.
Is it true, Lynn, that the Buddha said a Buddha like himself would come at this time, which is around about now, and his personal name would be Maitreya Buddha? Is that his teacher?
Wang Lin?
You are talking about Messiah Buddha, right? Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, the Buddha said that Buddha would like himself would appear at this time. and his personal name would be Maitreya Buddha.
Oh, yes.
So
Uh,
Maitreya, Gautama Buddha's teacher.
Actually, in the Buddha's teaching, they said like Shakyamuni Buddha is the fourth Buddha, and who in earth have became a Buddha. And then the next Buddha is Messiah Buddha. In Chinese, we call it Mi Le. But actually, we translate it as called Messiah Buddha.
What is the condition of his appearance? Or when?
Disappearance. When? No, they didn't tell the exact time actually. So, but very very strange thing is like maybe 10 years ago I was like reading all the book, all the teaching, from the monk told me like, oh, the Buddha is next Buddha, but could be like many times, like years, many years later or whatever. But more and more I feel it's the time is now. More and more I feel this is the time. But anyway, it's like I'm later on I'm more jumping out of the religion, but I just learned the essence of that, because I had that feeling like something in the teaching is also confusing. So you cannot be like give like believing everything. You have to be independent to think something is correct or something is not correct, or maybe it's just misleading.
Lynn, some people think that he's come to save us, but in a way, but I think it's more to inspire humanity to take the right direction. I don't think the Buddha would do it, make the world a better place himself. We have to do it. We have to act. So these great teachers like the Buddha, Maitreya Buddha, we are blessed to have somebody like that if he is in the world, which I believe he is. Maybe we will see him soon, but people can run after him, but that's not what he's about. If you try to put him in your pocket, you will lose him. You have to understand.
But I have that feeling. Another feeling is like actually we can have many Messiah Buddha here, and even everybody can become a Messiah Buddha. Because now I'm more believing that like if somebody teach you to like worship somebody as a Buddha, I don't believe that kind of teaching now. But if somebody to teach you to become a Buddha, to find your inner Buddha inside you, and then I believe that is the real teaching.
Yes, I agree.
So we come back to your question.
Which question was that? My question, was it, Mr. Keshe?
Yes, and what you raised, not the question, but the point you raised and what I asked. That why most of the prophets say things in the mountains.
I think it's a place that's more sacred, away from influence. The mountains, even in India, there's a sacred place there where they have a festival called the Wesak Festival in a secret mountain place, and people gather there. so it always seems to be mountains. Yeah, I don't know why, but
Stefania mentions in the Q&A, are the mountains the antenna for the soul of the earth?
Is this less interruption?
here in Australia, we have Uluru as a big rock in the centre of Australia. It seems to be very significant to the Indigenous people here. I've been there.
That's a rock.
It's a rock, yeah. But it's like a small mountain. Here in Australia, we don't have much mountains. that's a mountain. Yeah.
You can stand on one end of the continent and you can see the other end. It's like Holland, huh?
Yes, yeah.
So, Mr. Kesh, you just mentioned something that the mountain is more like an interruption to the soul of the earth, so that perhaps we can connect easier with the soul of the universe.
Book number 2 and 3 were written in the mountain. Book number 4 too. The essence of understanding at these positions, you find solitude. And solitude brings wisdom. But on the other hand, revelations come in a position of in a time of solitude. Even you could be amongst millions of people. What is interesting, those of you who believe in path of Mitra, you will find out Mitra always appeared in the mountains. And we see the structure is that way.
Mr. Kesh, Mitra, MTR, Maitreya, MTR. Then there's another one, Metatron, MTR. Would there be a connection?
Well, you can change it any shape you like. But in Persian language, we know it's a Mitra. And is the first message, original. And we see many people have followed the same path. But you got to understand, it's the same soul. In essence, the soul of the messengers of the God is the same soul. No other. It's just appeared in different time, position, and form. And as I explained in other teachings, Mitra is Eve. Is created out of the embodiment of the Creator. And as is in the mythology of the universe, Mitra came to Earth and fell in love with the planet. And he chose as a place where he saw the beauty and asked the Creator to join him, to see the beauty of what his creation can do, except her beauty. And in so many ways, Mitra, as we call it, then the word of Adam and Eve came, where Mitra is the Eve, and Adam is the Creator. Mankind, now that he opens up into the wisdom of the universe, will see what are called the history of the creation of this planet. This is why as you go to holy places and live with respect, those who come to earth, this is their holy ground for many who come to visit. They don't come to worship, they come to visit, as the time of Mitra to now is the second time in a matter of seconds, not as we call it tens of thousands of years. In so many ways, the earth is a beautiful place, and its beauty has captured, and with it, as there were living entities, the wisdom of the Creator was taught to them. And this word of Adam and Eve and everything else which has come after it is from that point. And in time, many of you will come to understand. And in so many ways, she appeared amongst the knowledgeable, as she enjoyed not only the beauty, but the knowledge they could understand her.
So the mythologies, a lot of it is based on truth of some sort. In particular, the one with Hercules and the 9-headed Hydra. That's an amazing story, but it gives where, I don't know do you know that one, Mr. Kesh?
Nope.
Hercules, the trials of Hercules, and he had to, as one of his tests, to go down into a cave, a dark cave, and destroy this monster, the 9-headed Hydra. But he went down there because he was very courageous and strong. He went down there and he started to chop the head of the Hydra. But every time he chopped the head, another one would grow. And then he got to the point where he was tired. He couldn't, it overwhelmed him emotionally. And then he had an intuitive thought, and he grabbed the monster and took it up into the light of the soul. And all the heads disappeared except for one, and he chopped that off and put it under a rock. And that was like control of the emotional fear, control of the emotional body. I mean, people interpret that in many different ways. But to me, that's the trial of overcoming fear, the emotional. You like that story?
There are many like this. The structure of life on this planet is no different than the rest. There's just one breed has reached the point of maturity of communication and collective living as the others do, but has managed to colonize and has managed to outrank the others, and we call it the human. And this process is not unique, and is not only on this planet. Life takes shape in any dimension, direction in the universe. It's just that most of the lives are created from the interaction of the fields in a random way, but in an orderly manner. And on Earth and in some other places is created by choice up to energy fields. So the creation of the soul on this planet has more repetition continuity. It's like you get The nursery which creates a specific kind of roses, specific color, specific structure. And Earth is one of those. It's a nursery of beautiful souls, and with a little bit of what I call need for adjustment. Any other question?
Yes, good day, Mr. Keshe. This is Gatwa.
Good afternoon. Good day, Dr. Gatwa.
Yeah, I thank you very much for your continued teaching, humble teachings that connects most of our dots. We are beginning to connect dots. Now, I want to go back to questions I had last week. 2 questions, one about smell, the other one about division of plasmas, neutrons, protons, and electrons. So let me start with the smell. When the crystal structure of carbon in CO2 eliminates smell, which also manifests as a crystal, does the cause of that smell also, is that cause also eliminated?
What you mean?
In other words, so something causes smell, for example. So you want to get rid of that and use CO2 plus liquid plasma.
Yeah.
So the smell disappears. But how about the cause of that smell?
Not really, because that cause still produces. Unless you can cascade it, or you can extract the field strength which creates that crystal structure.
So, for example, in drying of fruits, which I have done, drying of fruits to make cattle feed, I have noticed that they dry without going bad after using the liquid plasma. Would that mean not only are the crystals of the smell removed, but also the condition that created the smell in the first place, which is rotting, which may have been caused by bacteria, is also cleansed?
If you use a CO2 or CuO, you create the condition of the transfer, and you create like a disinfectant. That's why the smell goes. You destructure the plasmatic structure.
Okay.
And this is that's the reason.
Okay, the structure of the smell itself or the cause, or both?
It can be both. Depends how it's structured.
Okay, thank you very much. Now back to division of plasmas. Excess of neutrons lead to radiation, which is the division of plasma from neutrons to the twins, protons and electrons. And because creation is the same all over the universe, that is to say, what is in the micro is also in the macro. So in creation of the earth, there must have been the twins. So the earth may be one of the twins. Do we know the neutron that created the twins?
The original was the creator. And by part of the creator to be given to create Eve, now you have the creator and created. And collectively, when you put the Eve with Adam, you achieve the totality of the creator as one without condition of emotion, as you call it. Creates to give. There is a philosophy in a position that by creating the Eve, God created the universe because it had a point that it could transfer it could give its position dimension of is love. So in a way, is the creator with or a creator plus.
I'm not very sure that I understand in case of Earth, for example, where the twins, the proton and electron. So
Yeah.
is the Earth the electron? And if so, where is the proton?
Eve is an electron. But in essence, now you have the Adam as one. There is no Eve. When you take part of the Adam and you create another creation from it as part of, then you have created two out of one. But in essence, if you put the second one back, it'll be complete. But in the process of creation, in dimension of expansion of the fields, you'll find out that in trying to give from one to another, the universe is created. In a way, the expansion of the unicos comes from the creation of the Eve. In creator trying to reach, to spread, to give, the love to bring, in a way to nourish, for Eve to become the same as Adam, or equal. This is what we say. The God created the universe out of his love. Because as, let's say, put it this way, if you stand in one side of the room and somebody else on the other side, and the extent of it you can throw a ball is how far the other one can reach to catch. Otherwise, there's no use throwing a ball. And this giving one to the other, spreading to give the love to Eve, has created the expansion of the universe, if you can understand it in that way. And the fields within, which leads to the creation of unicos. But in essence, we talk about Adam and Eve, or creation of electron and proton, is on and in respect to its combination of environment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kesh. I'll have to listen to that over a few times to really get your answer. But I thank you very much for the explanation. And now my final question is about peace in global peace. You have any comments given what is happening in the world right now? Thank you very much.
We are observing at this moment. We are observing how the human race will react to the present situation. And globally, no government can bring soldiers together to fight because of the corona. And governments in trying to do are at the peril themselves. So we'll see extension to the science and technology. What we saw in the 80s, 70s and 60s with the East and West endeavoring to develop the technology on the edge of science that could be the better for them compared to the other. But this time the technology will be shared as equal with everybody else. So we are in a better position, and especially Corona, as long as it lasts, it forces to keep peace, because governments cannot handle armies, and the armies will catch it and the rest of it. But on the other hand, it's a stepping stone towards unification of mankind. Any other question? Or shall
Thank
we
you very
call
much
it a day?
indeed, Mr. Cash.
You're welcome, Dr. Kato.
Well, there'll always be more questions, of course, but perhaps we could hear from Dean, who's had his hand up for a bit. And I think Stefania might have a final question. I'm not sure if her hand was up from before or not.
Do you have any in the YouTube?
There was... There's a question from O Mexicano in the YouTube, who says, Sir Kesh, could we move from one place to another just through physicality using some GANs or something plasma-like, or a device, a plasma device? I responded that Mr. Kesh is working on the flying car, which may be revealed in Austria in March. And the concepts are explained in great detail in the Kesh patent applications available on the internet. But how would you respond, Mr. Kesh?
Not much different. He can go, I think what he's trying to say, we can move without any systems, but using a plasma in a plasma environment. Again, if you create a system with a plasma system, it still needs as a system to find its positioning and gravitational magnetic field strength. Any other question?
Mr. Kesh, is Dean here again? Sorry, Rick. Is Dean here again, Mr. Kesh? Can I quickly ask about the enhancement units, about the medical professionals or the doctors, the nurses? What qualities do they require to be able to use these units, to interact with them? What qualities
we
do they
need, or we look for doctors who have at least two different, what they call a school of thoughts of medicine. Those are we need people who accept diversity in the knowledge, not what I call dogmatism in one side. You know, a lot of medical doctors do homeopathy, a lot of medical doctors do other things. And these are the type of doctors we are looking at. As they have opened their eyes to one different education compared to than their original, what they sworn themselves into, they are open to receive, and then we can teach very freely. But again, we look at the case to case.
It seems to be, Mr. Kesh, that when you start speaking about this, the soul interactions are so wonderful that there's some souls that I maybe have met that maybe would fill these positions beautifully, but I've not approached them in their physicalities, but I know their souls are aware of it, funny enough. It's definitely a soul connection again. With these doctors, I believe they will, as we do with the calling to come to the foundation, to the knowledge, to yourself. It's a calling. You just want to help and, as we say, end suffering and just aid humanity's growth, maturity.
Yeah. It just depends how they receive it and what they see it.
I hope they receive from their souls the beauty of this knowledge, so that they can actually give unconditionally to most professionals I know in that they want to give. They're there to help humanity. They were there to help their patients. And when they first came in, it was always to be a giving situation. And so this would be, with this new enhancement unit, this would be the best way they could possibly ever give on a most wonderful, beautiful scale of a new growth, a new evolution, a new time. It would be wonderful. And we look
We
forward
have
to
to see.
receiving them.
We have to see who comes and what they apply.
I know they will come, Mr. Cash. They will come.
Oh, we know they will come. We already have people who are on a request registration for medical teaching. And so we see some will come that way.
There's a saying, if you build it, they will come. And you built it. So I think you'll be attracting that that caliber of person in the coming months for sure.
Yeah, we start progressive teaching to be able to use these machines. And we have to wait and see how they're receptive to and how they do it.
Mr. Kesh, will they be able to, there's going to be certain conditions that they've seen in their patients that they've known about for a very long time. And they will be able to come to a position where they can actually change the condition of this patient, elevate their soul, and give from their soul to be able to elevate themselves. So it would be a win-win, a giving situation of absolute beauty and the elevation of humanity.
Most probably. Depends on the doctors and their expectation and what they want to do.
So when they give from their soul unconditionally, Mr. Kesh, they will be able to help those
Most
souls.
probably.
Yeah. And all from the womb of the mother, which will be that beautiful egg shape.
Most probably. Thank you very much.
Thank
Is
you,
there
Mr.
any
Kesh.
other question? Shall we? Thank you very much, Dean. Shall we call it a day?
Yeah, I think we need to perhaps
Yep.
end things here.
Yep.
There's one quick last question from Jefferson in the Q&A, which is interesting. He says, hello, good morning, Mr. Kesh and everyone. Is there any chance of one day you will write a best-selling book about your life in the physicality and beyond the Unicos? Thank you very much indeed.
Do you think I can find that time?
I was going to say.
We're still struggling to finish the books of man to complete even the number 9.
Well, it seems
It's just having the time.
As a creator, that's what you're doing all the time. You're creating a new universe all the time and don't have time, literally, to go back in time to recall everything about your life and write a book about it, perhaps. But there might be others. It'd be a very interesting read, and there might be someone that could write a book about you, that knows about you, and in a benevolent way and not in a negative way. And perhaps that would be one way it would come about. Maybe Jefferson could write such a book. Who knows? But we do look forward, perhaps one day, your life should be recorded. And you've told us many excerpts from time to time of the changes you've gone through in your physicality life and so on, and the various origins of your family life, and in terms of the work with the x-rays and so on that your father was involved with and that kind of thing. So perhaps one day we'll hear more.
One day somebody might write.
Yep.
One day somebody. And according to some, nothing happened.
Yes, well, everybody has their own perspective, I guess.
Yes. Anyway, thank you very much for today. I think the first part of this teaching today, it's important for all the knowledge seekers to understand and evolve in the direction of that we understand the totality of the process of the creation. And in being able to manifest ourselves in the position and time and space where we desire. And maybe we for the first time get a chance to live that elusive, not everlasting, but a life, at least not a short-term demise, a long-term that we can serve. The purpose of life should not be just to live longer, but in living longer, how you can serve the rest of the souls that they elevate from their position in the stand. It's not a sacrifice, it's a service. Thank you very much for today. And hopefully we meet next week. And gradually we're building to the what we call 7-year completion of the teaching. We're on 362. And in a way, we have another more or less 12 weeks or so, around that time, to pass our 7 years into the 8th year. Thank you very much for all the time, and we'll see what comes up next week.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kesh, once again for another Knowledge Seekers Workshop, the 362nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 7th, 2021. And I think the main announcement we would have would be that the testimonials meeting will be coming up on Monday, I think it's January 11th. Let me just double check here. Yes, Monday, January 11th. And that's at 8 p.m. Central European time. So that's something that people can bring their, obviously, testimonials, and we can share knowledge during that meeting. Okay, I think that's it for now.
If I look at correctly, we passed the 7th year by 365, which is in 3 weeks' time. We move into our 8th year of teaching.
Yeah, that's hard to believe in a way, but
yeah. If you average it out, we have taught in the region of over 1,500 hours of teaching. And if you siphon it 50%, it's nearly 600, 500 hours of pure knowledge transfer.
Yes, and I'd say that's just in the Knowledge Seekers Workshop. You've also taught in various other language workshops and the private teachings and a number of other locations. So it's definitely in the many, many thousands of hours of teachings. And thank you so much, Mr. Kesh, for all that you've been providing for these many years.
Thank you very much. I hope it has helped someone somewhere.
And still humble enough to teach One Cup, One Life to those who need it as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. See you next week. And we'll take another time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Okay, I think Stanley will take us out with the final videos here. Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. KesheFoundation.org/donate